the time. Studying at Fordham University, where he became involved in student protest, his refusal to accept injustice and fairness and inequality would last a lifetime. South Africa, 1941. In his early 20s, Nelson Mandela first moved to Johannesburg, where he encountered racial discrimination that would later be entrenched in law by the apartheid government. Working in the mines and later as a clerk in an oil field, Mandela pursued his law studies and joined the African National Congress, the oldest black political organization in South Africa. In 1948, the nationalist government was voted into power by white electorate in South Africa, and the battle lines were keenly drawn. In 1955, the ANC and other organizations called upon people of all races to gather in Cape Town to approve the Freedom Charter, a blueprint for a free, democratic, multiracial South Africa in which all races would be treated equally. Nelson Mandela, one of the chief organizers of the gathering, was banned by the government from attending and was forced to watch proceedings from the sidelines. In 1956, the organizers of the Freedom Charter and other leaders in the Congress movement were charged with high treason. The trial was specifically designed to occupy the opposition and keep them out of politics. It dragged on for 4.5 years. And it would be another 40 years before the Freedom Charter finally bore fruit. South Africa, 1960, Sharpeville. A black township in an industrial area south of Johannesburg, a peaceful crowd gathered to protest against the passed laws and were shot at by police. 69 people died. The national government imposed martial law, all opposition was banned and thousands were jailed. When it became clear all means of peaceful negotiations have been exhausted, Mandela went underground to lead the armed struggle. Key government installations were targeted for sabotage. Mandela became known as the Black Pimpernel. In 1962, Mandela was captured, charged with leaving the country illegally, and sentenced to imprisonment for 5 years. Shortly after his ANC comrades were captured with evidence which incriminated Mandela, he returned to a court for the Rivonia trial where he and others faced a possible death penalty. When Nelson Mandela and several of his colleagues were sentenced to life imprisonment in 1964, the political convicts were sent to Robben Island Prison, the Brick Island Prison of Western Cape. Nelson Mandela was 45 years old when he became prisoner number 4666 of 1964. He would be in his early 70s before he would again be a free man. Forced to perform laborious jobs at the lime quarry, the prisoners refused to be broken. Far from being diminished, Mandela's moral leadership continued to grow while he was in prison. His young wife, Winnie, continued to be an inspiration to the struggle. Amanda Awe too, power to the people, but the struggle against apartheid would continue for another quarter century. While Nelson Mandela and his co-accused served life sentences in Robben Island, other leaders of all races and spheres campaigned for change. Many faced imprisonment or exile, and around the world, ordinary people showed their horror, appetite, and support for the struggle. But in 1976, Soweto school children marched in protest and townships around the country erupted in violence. It was the beginning of the end for apartheid, but the struggle dragged on for more than a decade. The African nationalist government clung to power. In the late 1980s, amid a tide of world pressure, the South African government was forced to accept the inevitable and began dismantling apartheid. In 1990, at the age of 71, Nelson Mandela was released unconditionally. After leading negotiations for a new South Africa, Nelson Mandela cast his vote in the first free, fair and democratic elections and became the country's first black president. For the duration of his presidential term and throughout what should have been a well-earned retirement, he has worked tirelessly to enrich his ideals he has so longed for, becoming universally revered as an icon of leadership and humility. But in his retirement from retirement, Nelson Mandela has continued to give his support and generosity in countless ways.
Nja jamaat.
Aw po jamaat.
Malegen ni nja jamaat.
Wala tuku jamaat.
Programme yati a jamaat.
Yande pour GRTS.
Le pio nyenye mi fanji joko yo.
Programme oye pene mikino la mukana molla meti nani.
Rewtu to de wano san watu mbeke jetu mo fam fotule pam miki di programme we
Nene kuseka kunyila kujanga kunyila kekuna oje be rambin mi kuje fukil tupam mika di programme we
rewtu to de di kapana kati e wanye
Diga panake ka poyak.
njema nyi sanke ne nyay lew ludde
won lewtu wa
programme atu mbeka kurena kati yo aymba
Jiribe Bernard Sane.
inje fanga oto jija
Jijare inyenye le pio GRT.
Your life again, that phone, smell like